And in another development, the federal government says economic reforms implemented over the past 3 years have generated 15.8 trillion naira in subsidy savings, helping to strengthen public finances and avert a broader economic crisis. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Taiwo Idele, disclosed this in Abuja while presenting the government's Nigeria Reform Scorecard, the benefits, costs, and harms prevented. Correspondent Marian Acumen completes this report.
The federal government says the economic reforms introduced by the administration of President Bola Tinubu, including removal of fuel subsidy and the unification of foreign exchange markets, have produced significant economic adjustment despite the financial pressure on households and businesses. The Minister of Finance, Taiwo Idele, said 15.8 trillion naira was saved from subsidy reforms between June 2023 and December 2025. Of that amount, 5.4 trillion naira accrued to the federal government, while 10.4 trillion naira was shared by states and local government through the federation account. The federal government also recorded 3.1 trillion naira in incremental independent revenue and borrowed 11.9 trillion naira, bringing total incremental resources available to the federal government to 20.4 trillion naira during the period under review. However, Idele says additional federal expenditure stood at 30.64 trillion naira, with the balance financed from the existing revenue base.
It partly funded incremental expenses, okay? For that same period, the incremental expenses of the federal government alone, not the federation, was 30.64 trillion naira. Of these, 9.39 trillion went to wage adjustments, minimum wage increases, and allowances for public servants. And I think this is a point that it should be of interest to everyone. The incremental amount that the federal government spends paying higher wages is more than the entire savings that the federal government earned from subsidy removal. Then we have 9.37 trillion that went to external debt service, made necessary by exchange rate depreciation. So if we're paying $1 million before in interest on our foreign debts, it is still the same $1 million, but instead of 460 naira, it's now 1415. That's more naira that we need to incur. And there's 6.5 trillion that went into strategic infrastructure, making the top three expenditure lines.
The minister says the reform have also improved government finances and strengthened external stability. He added that the measures help prevent potentially severe economic disruptions, including fiscal bankruptcy and shortage of refined petroleum produce.
We put this together as well. And you'll see that this reform is actually about the average Nigerian. Behind these figures are real, tangible changes in people's lives. Salaries and pensions paid on time, and long-standing pension arrears finally settled. Before the reform started, 27 states were struggling to pay salaries and pensions. A minimum wage more than doubled from 30,000 to 70,000. NEL Fund, now one of the most affordable student loan schemes globally, helping over 1.5 million students through school. In addition, there are cash transfers to millions of households, subsidized mortgages, agricultural support, strengthening food security, and a new tax act that exempt low-income earners and small businesses from tax, while simplifying a system that had overburdened the poor for decades.
The next phase of the reform program, according to the federal government, will focus on translating macroeconomic stability into improved living standard for Nigerians. Key priorities including expanding targeted cash transfer to vulnerable households, strengthening agricultural interventions to reduce food prices, and improving the quality and efficiency of government spending. From Abuja, Marian Inahimion, MI3 Plus News.